Hi, I'm Shauna.
And I'm Martha, and this is Murder in the Mountains, coming at you from Appalachia.
Live and worldwide.
Worldwide.
That's right.
This is part 4 of Roger Keith Coleman.
Our final installment.
Final.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. We have had several technical snafus, but Martha is well on her way in earning her next degree in
IT guru, but
yes.
I just prefer to call it guru.
Yeah, she's our little guru. Mm-hmm.
But it'll all work out in the end.
It will.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Great. How was yours?
It was great. I ate way too much.
I did too. I went to see my kids, and we went to the Nashville Flea Market. It was it was so much fun.
Did you pick up a friend?
I did. This is a friend.
Okay.
We are
We? You refer to yourself
we.
as a we?
We are not sure on the name yet.
Yeah.
My
dogs have loved it already.
Sandy and Pandy.
Yes,
I'm telling you, they love their new little friend. I think they were just trying to investigate just to make sure.
Yes.
It was.
Okay. This is not real. I mean, it is real. It's not alive. I should say that. But PETA, we don't really care if you come after us.
I know.
It's too cute.
It's vintage. It's not new.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so
we didn't have anything to do with.
No, we
making
didn't.
It this way.
We didn't. I think Martha inherited. This little
it's
friend.
Two-headed.
I know. So like here's.
They're chasing each other.
Yeah, they're like chasing each other. Oh my
God. Well,
okay.
It's very soft, and
it is.
I
just felt like being fancy.
Well, you're like royalty. It looks really good on you.
I do.
Sharp
Move over,
toenails.
Kate Middleton. I know. We're going to Petco to have this.
Yeah.
Taken care of.
Petco has never seen the likes of that, baby. I can tell you right now.
Well, excuse me. How much would it be to cut my first toenails?
First toenail. Well, I wanted to tell you about my shirt because you commented about it.
I know.
Earlier.
I love it.
This was my granny's.
Oh, was it
Feel
really?
Yeah, and
it's straight up hardcore polyester.
I mean, I love this thing. I have so many of her things, and this is not real, just in case anybody was wondering. Along with the earrings, they're paparazzi.
Oh.
And most of the paparazzi jewelry is only $5. Of course, I chose the one that's more. I think this is $25, but it's well worth it.
I know. It's really pretty.
If anybody wants to buy any, let me know.
That is serious bling bling.
Look
Look
at
at
that.
that.
I'm
Look
ready
at
for
the
New Year's
earrings.
Eve, even though we haven't had Christmas yet.
No.
I am ready to start decorating, and I love Christmas music. Like, I listen to it in summer. I really do. My kids are sick of it, but whenever I have it on, they're always singing the words. I've trained them well. I mean, I have like 2 songs that I listen to in summer.
It was the that subliminal.
Yeah, they just pick up on it.
Messaging,
I love
yeah.
it. But
Yeah,
can't
we
help it.
I try really hard to get into the spirit.
Well, there's so many versions of songs. Like, one of my favorite songs.
But I do love Christmas carols. If nothing else
Do they
about
have to be
Christmas
carols, or can they be just any of the
songs.
newfangled
Songs.
songs?
Any of them. Yeah, I like some of the old, some of the new.
Well, there's this song called "This Christmas," and it's like my favorite, and I have it in 10 versions on my iTunes. I do 10 different people singing it.
Is it a new one?
No, it's from like the 70s.
Oh.
I'll play it for you.
What's your
after
favorite version of it? Who's
Donny
your...
Hathaway. He's like a 70s star.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
We'll go back and listen to it later.
I think that my one of my favorite songs is "I'll Be Home for Christmas."
Oh,
that's one of
sweet.
my.
It is.
Yes.
And there's a lot of good versions. Like
But
Carpenters
I like.
have
Oh my
great
gosh,
versions
the
of that.
Carpenters, they break my heart
Yeah.
every time. But I do like the Bing Crosby version
Oh,
of
yeah,
that.
that's just
But
the
anytime
classic.
that the Carpenters, when Karen Carpenter breaks
Oh,
out,
that's just.
she's my favorite. She's.
And much like this broadcast, we've only just begun.
We have, and we've got a lot to go
live.
over,
Yes.
and we've only got 15 minutes to do it.
Oh my gosh.
And 30
We're at
minutes to do it in.
4:45.
We got 30 minutes of
gosh.
information. We got to do it in 15 minutes. It's going to take us 45.
That's true.
So,
It's a good one, though.
It is a good one. Like I said, we're going to wrap it up. And again, we really appreciate y'all hanging out through all of our little technical difficulties. And from now on, we are just going to do one story per week. So we're not going to do
One crime.
one murder in the
Unless
mountains.
we find something.
Yeah, unless,
crazy,
you know, but that's going to be our goal from now
Yeah.
on. We're not going to drag these stories out for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Right.
But thank you again for all your
Yes.
support. We really appreciate it. So just to recap really fast, when last we left, Roger Coleman, this gnat is killing me.
It's coming with this. I'm sorry.
I feel like Pigpen. It's like, and so, anyway, he had just been sentenced to death, and he is now living on death row. And when
Could
he left,
you really call that living?
well, he is existing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in death row. You know, and when he left the courtroom, he said he didn't care if he lived or died; it was in God's hands. But then when he got to death row,
that
he
was for effect.
kind of changed
Yeah,
his mind.
right.
And so
As would I'm sure.
a lot of people do.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you know, it's just like you're all big and bad when you're standing in the courtroom, and then when
Right.
you've been in solitary confinement for a couple of weeks, you kind of start changing
Right.
your tune. So,
Exactly.
so when people are on death row, and I don't think that a lot of people realize this, they kind of become in a group where people seek them out, and there are
Because
a lot
of people want them to. They think they're innocent and they want to save them and get them.
well, that and you
Or-
know, they're just you know
Curious.
that and you know they just want to eradicate you know the death penalty,
Right.
and so they well, we have a new audience member. We have
third?
tripled
Yes.
our audience
Yes,
size.
we have.
tripled it.
We
tripled
have
it
from 0.
from 0 to 3.
Yes.
And we just had one come in and give us a look and
Yeah, he's apparently something went awry with one of his gloves, but
okay. Well, he's exasperated.
all-
But it's all good now.
It's all good now.
It's all good now.
we're just happy to have the audience.
We are.
I
We
mean,
are. I like the energy.
If you count the dogs, it's 5.
it's 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy and Pandy
right.
over
I
there.
mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Woody. Back
And-
there. Woodrow. Yes.
And the thing that, hey Raj, the thing that we haven't done is acknowledge
Oh yeah, we didn't
Woodrow.
acknowledge him last time.
He fell last time,
Right.
and so now we've got him in a safe space,
Yes.
and he's happy to
He's
be
in a
here.
safe
He's in a-
coloring room.
he is. He's in a safe
Oh, gosh.
space, and
Okay, I'm sorry.
so anyway, there are you know people who advocate for people on death row, and one such person is a lady named Marie Deans, and she is the first person that starts building this team who's going to try to prove Roger Coleman's innocence, because Roger Coleman has always you know, he's never admitted to any of
Right.
the you know, any of the crimes, any of them.
Not
It's
even
always
a confession under duress or anything.
nothing.
Like that.
He didn't, you know, everything was like it's a false identity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or not a false identity, but a false identification.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't admit to
I don't know what came over
Martha,
me.
Martha still it just cannot, you know, get over the library.
I understand. I can't. But
And she's thought of so many ways that he could have been identified, and they're great. They're all great. They really are. They really, really are. And you know, if that ever happened to Martha and I, we are prepared.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're really prepared.
Eagle-eye goggles.
So, Marie Deans, she is the founder of Virginia Coalition of Jails and Prisons, and she hooks inmates up with lawyers who can help them file an appeal. And I learned something that I was not aware of. When you are sentenced, you no longer are eligible for like a an attorney. I mean, not like a court-appointed attorney. I mean, if you want to file appeals and stuff like that, you have to hire your own attorneys once you get to prison. You don't get, I mean, it's just like, that's not one of your rights anymore.
Interesting.
So once you're in prison, you have to hire someone. And, of course, that's, I mean, somebody that's
So a
in
lot of
prison,
people
unless you've got
can't-
family members,
Right.
that's just not going to happen.
Like you said, though, these big cases, a lot of people want to take those on just, I mean,
Yeah, for the fame and the
Right.
the name and the reputation and that kind of thing. And so, but she seeks out attorneys to help inmates file appeals. And her one goal is to keep inmates alive. That was what her purpose of this coalition was, is to keep these people on a death row alive. And she said that she had read the circumstances of his case, and that she was very intrigued by Coleman. She believed he was either innocent or he did not remember the crime. It was one of, it was just like he had amnesia or something. I don't
blacked
know.
out.
He blacked out. Yeah, and and so she said when she met him that he was never smooth or slick, and that she never got the sense that he was trying to pull the wool over her eyes, and she didn't care for his defense team's strategy at trial. And so she was looking for a group to take on his cause. Well, during that time, he met a pen pal. Her name was Sharon Paul. Sharon Paul was a UVA sophomore. You got some info
Well,
on her?
I just, I had it written down somewhere that, and I didn't make myself very good notes, but something was in the UVA student newspaper. Like, did Roger Keith put an ad, like, right to me in the UVA student newspaper, and she found that?
He solicited a pen pal, and he stated that
He
he was
wanted to go to just, one of the best universities to find him a...
Yes, and that he was looking for someone sincere, and that sincerity is what counts.
And if you're a student at a college, seems perfectly normal to want to write to a death row inmate,
I mean,
We all do
I mean,
it,
we
right?
all, yeah.
I mean, that was just
3 or
normal.
4 at least, right? I mean,
I just can't get over it. I know there's a curiosity.
that's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess.
No,
I mean,
really, I can't even imagine. But I know people do it every day. But
Well, and I think I mean, the difference in being kind of saturated in that kind of environment versus standing on the outside and looking in. I mean, I mean, that is not intriguing to me.
no, me either.
I mean,
Well, especially to carry it any further than, at all, I wouldn't want to do it. But she went to great lengths to meet him.
oh
and
yeah, and
be with him, and dogs are in a fight.
Sandy, Pandy.
They got a hold
Love
of
each
one of
other.
the minks here. Oh my. Sorry. Oh gosh. Oh dear.
So
So she met him.
She did, and she
Then-
found him. She was captured by his vulnerability.
Some people just want to get the underdog and fix them.
And that he was honest and open and very smart.
Although
He
underdog
was
is-
charming.
I wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah,
Charming.
very charming. And he bought her gifts. Even though, okay, now here's what he would do. Okay. So he he didn't have a lot of money, but what he would do, I mean, when you're making a dime an hour, I mean, pack of gum, some ramen from the commissary.
It's a thought that counts.
I'll save my potato chip bag so we can have a cup of coffee when you come see me. And if you don't know what that means that a lot of like jails don't, like if you can't get a coffee cup or something like that, you just save your potato chip bag
Yeah.
and you drink your coffee and stuff out of the potato chip bag. So, yeah, well,
might come in useful someday. If you're out.
So, that's like my Pinterest tip for the day,
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, good.
So,
Save your Cheetos bag and we'll go get Starbucks in the morning. Oh my God, wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be.
Can I have my dime off my coffee?
that
Can
would
you just
be.
put it in my, instead of those like recyclable cups that they sell for
I'm
$1?
Sure those are even more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you get
and
like
the
a
band around it too.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
the little-
so you
yeah,
wouldn't
the
have to have
band,
that.
yeah.
The bag would probably get really hot and wobbly though.
Can you put some foam on that? Oh, we're way
gosh,
off.
I know.
We're way off.
So gifts.
So yes. So what he would do is he would send her 4 or 5 pictures of some, here's a bunch of shirts. Which shirt do you want? And so like she would pick out 3, and then he would buy her 1, so it would still be a surprise.
But how? I mean, this was well before the internet.
I'm sure that people were sending him money.
Sears Roebuck catalog, though. I mean,
it was. I'm sure.
yeah. Okay.
I bet it was the Christmas
Yes,
book.
I know. I used to
I
go
used to
through that. Oh, I can
pour
smell it
through that.
Me too, and I write it down. Everything.
Yeah, I would like
Right.
dog ear. And,
Yes,
and like by
every
the
page.
time Christmas was there, every
Yeah,
page. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And
yeah.
but this also, that was, my grandfather reminded me that they would always use that in the outhouse. Not the one I was looking through, of course, but years before that.
What's that? What was that you said you wanted? Oh no.
So
Oh.
their relationship progressed.
It did. It did.
Into as much
a
of
romance as it could be within, when someone's in prison. So, Marie Deans, the lady who's the founder for the Virginia Coalition of Jails and Prisons, found a group that was willing to take on Roger Coleman's cause. And it was the Arnold and Porter group. And they were attorneys who did pro bono work, and they specialized in a writ of habeas corpus, which is like a judicial review when they lost in circuit court. And so what happened was they lost their appeal, and because they filed too late.
I mean,
So,
really,
I don't think he did. His original attorneys.
Yeah.
His original attorneys filed the appeal, and they
did
too late.
Which I will say is, I mean, that's like
Yeah, and so
pretty crazy mistake.
yeah, and so when they went to ask for when they appealed that decision and circuit court shot them down, then of course it had to go to the Virginia Supreme Court, and that's when Arnold and Porter took over his cause. And they more or less made Roger Coleman the opponents of capital punishment made Roger Coleman their poster child.
Right. Oh, gosh.
And so another guy got involved. His name was Jim McCloskey, and he was from Centurion Ministries. And in 1987, Coleman contacted McCloskey, and McCloskey read the trial transcripts, and he met with Coleman, and then he went to Grundy to investigate. And so McCloskey came up with a set of questions that he felt solidified his belief that Coleman was innocent. And one was the timeline. He just did not, he agreed with Roger Coleman's timeline versus the prosecution's timeline. And there was a discrepancy in Miss Stiltner's testimony, the lady who he went to get, the couple that he went to get the tape from. She changed her times. She changed her time. And
about the dogs.
But there was like the DNA testing, and the attorney said the judge wouldn't allow the DNA testing, and Coleman wasn't interested in getting a DNA test. And Coleman stated that he had one reason why he did not want DNA testing done is because he had claimed that he had had sex with a female guard. and that the female guard had, he was afraid that she would take his DNA and that they might have planted the evidence.
Of course, there's, everyone always thinks evidence is planted.
Well, and I mean, especially semen.
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
exactly what, if you were having sex with an inmate and you worked there, it'd be like,
Yeah.
this would be a really good idea. I think I'll just take it.
How hard up are you? I mean, I'm sorry.
I mean,
Okay.
Tinder.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. So, McCloskey stated that he thought Coleman had jailhouse paranoia and
No, that's right. But
Okay.
it's just like,
Okay.
I was thinking there's...
Sorry, I thought I'd said it
that's
wrong.
Like a scientific term,
Jailhouse paranoia.
Yeah.
I studied that in psychology.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make light of it.
I was
Hadn't heard of it.
lying. I think that I'm sure now it would be considered PTSD. But he was paranoid, and he felt that a certain amount of discomfort as to why he wasn't eager for the DNA test. So that was his first red flag when it came to Roger Coleman. But he was still he was such a big proponent. Martha's dogs are MMA style over here. They are going at it.
They've picked right now to do this. 'Cause
Yeah.
they want some of the limelight.
It's
but
okay.
not
It's
working
okay.
for them.
They're so
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah.
But if you hear some
Scuffles.
scuffle in the background, that's
If they snatch this off
they
here.
snatched this off.
Oh.
But anyway, one of the things that I find very intriguing, and I've heard this theory before, and I'm sure you have too. When you go into a situation, and it could be whether you're doing, investigations or whether you're doing research, if you have a certain well, there goes my drink. A certain preconceived expectation, or if you're thinking a certain way about a certain person, and that evidence that you look for, it's not really going to be evidence. It's really just going to be information that compounds your belief in
Right.
what you believe.
Yeah.
So, and it's very hard to go into any type of situation where you have to make a judgment and without some kind of preconceived
Right. That's true.
notion. So, but he did say that was a red flag for him, was the fact that Roger Coleman didn't want the DNA. So, McCloskey ends up dropping out for about a year, but in 1990 he returns back to help him out, and there were Catherine Behan,
I think. I'm not sure.
She goes by Kitty.
Kitty.
Yeah, she worked for Arnold and Porter, the attorneys, and she was their legal associate, and they weren't advocates of DNA testing, but she changed their position on that. She talked them into it. Did you have a picture of her?
I do have a picture of her and Tom Scott.
Yeah,
right
there's
there.
Kitty, and there's Tom Scott,
And
the
then
special
one of the
prosecutor.
prosecutors. And I just wanted to show this too. I didn't show this earlier, but there's Roger Keith and Sharon, his pen pal.
Oh yeah, there's Sharon, the UVA student, who pretty much stood by his side the entire time.
Yeah.
He was
I'd like to know what she's doing now. But anyway, so Kitty,
What are you doing? Will you please let
if
us
you're
know?
out there, just let us know.
Sharon, just
We want to hear. from
send
you.
us a message.
We get lots of messages from interesting people.
I do have to say we've got one interesting message. And I guess one of the things that we needed to do when we first started was to remind everybody that we are talking about Roger Keith Coleman.
Oh yeah.
We are not talking about Gary Coleman.
Different strokes for different folks.
That's right, and you know that's going to be our motto from now on. Is this may not be for everybody what Martha and I are doing,
I guess it's hard to believe that someone sort of maybe thought that we were
talking about Gary Coleman and got a little upset because again we were talking about Gary Coleman, but let me assure you we are not. We were talking about Roger Keith Coleman.
Roger Keith. And
yeah,
I mean,
what you talking about, Martha?
maybe she got Williams.
Oh, that's what it
Confused.
is.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, but
think.
anyway, yeah. But let's just get that straight now, okay?
Oh, gosh.
And I know this isn't for everyone, and that's okay. It's like we've said before, it's no big deal. You know, whatevs. Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
So back to Kitty. She got sick. She battled lupus.
Oh.
And she felt that she really did all the legwork on this for this firm, and she I don't want to say anything else about that, but she did most of the legwork for the firm, and so the team came together. Kitty, her bosses, Arnold and Porter, McCloskey was back in the scene at that time, and of course Marie Deans, she was still in the picture. To what extent, I don't know, but she was still a part of their team, and they got the. Sorry, we gotta hurry. They got the permission from the court to finally get DNA testing, and at the same time, they ran an ad in the Virginia Mountaineer. And
So this was before the execution.
yes, all this was before the execution, and well, no, I take that back. I apologize. So they did not get permission to do the DNA testing, but what they did do is they ran an ad in the Virginia Mountaineer trying to get more evidence, and so they ran the ad in the Virginia Mountaineer.
Seems highly irregular.
Yeah, and there were several people that came forward. One young lady in particular, she came forward and claimed that another man had tried to sexually assault her, and that when she resisted, she was told that if he had warned her that he would do the same thing to her that he had done to the woman on Slate Creek. And the man in question had lived lived less than 50 yards away from the McCoy home. 3 other women came forward and stated the same facts about the same man, and the young lady who came forward first gave an interview to a Roanoke television station repeating the allegations, and unfortunately she was supposed to go and testify, like do a deposition for that, but after she did the interview in Roanoke, she died. And according to the information that I had, there was no evidence of foul play. There were a lot of rumors saying that, you know, she did the interview and, you know, something bad happened to her, but the official ruling is that there was no evidence of foul play. And then there was a neighbor, Mr. Shortridge, who lived near the McCoy residence, and Mr. Shortridge said that he had found a bag of bloody clothes in his truck, and according to Shortridge, he dumped the bag in a ravine. So the team goes and hires a backhoe, and they dig up the spot where he says that he threw the bag of bloody clothes, but they never found anything. And then they had also claimed that the and the man that they had accused, that the women had accused, who was the neighbor that lived less than 50 yards away from their house, from the McCoy house, he did blood tests, and he came back as a type A, whereas the attacker was a type B. So even though all these people had come forward and said this thing about the neighbor, they ruled him out because of the blood type. And but the women had never reported these attacks to the police either. And at no time did either any of the staff, any of the team members ever go back and talk to Miss Rife, Miss Hatfield, or Miss Gilbert. So it was just like they didn't want to go back and talk to any of them. And so the team had failed to find any new evidence, but filed a petition in the Buchanan County Circuit Court implementing the male neighbor that had been already ruled out because of his blood type. But Judge Pearson dismissed that petition. So they're kind of running out of steam. The team is kind of running out of steam. But they decide that they are going to go on a like a nationwide campaign, and so they get all these interviews together. So Coleman goes on the Today Show, and he is interviewed by Bryant Gumbel 15 days before his execution date, and Brad McCoy was there.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, he appeared also, and when asked if he would like to ask Coleman any questions, Brad Coleman said yes. He'd like to ask, Brad McCoy asked, he said yes, he'd like to ask Coleman why did he
why did he do it? That's what I want to know, like the biggest question
and
is
would
why.
like for him to admit it.
Yeah.
And Coleman finally lost his cool. I mean, everybody said that, he was always calm and cool and never lost his temper, but he really he lost his temper on television. And he fired back at McCoy, stating that he didn't kill Wanda and had nothing to do with her death, and that he had only listened to if Brad had only listened to what Coleman had told him, and never and that he had never considered any new evidence. He had, it was just like he wasn't going to believe anything other than what the police had told him. And he went on Larry King 6 days prior to the execution. He went on Phil Donahue 30 hours before his execution.
And he was on cover of Time magazine.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
maybe
and
you're
this
getting
was,
to that.
well,
but,
and that's,
which came out on my birthday, by the way.
Did it really?
Yes, it was May 18th, 1992. When I was only 8.
Yeah, so here is Roger Coleman on the cover of Time magazine. And,
that's a little,
so
15 minutes of fame kind of deal.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And so what the team was trying to do was turn it to public opinion rather than the legal system. And they elicited publications, and stories were told. His story was told where Coleman was innocent, and Grundy was a place where hillbillies ran amok. Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
Although, I think you and I have been the demise of the Southwest Virginian, according to
Gary Coleman?
Gary Coleman. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And I do want to talk about this book.
Okay. So I'll okay.
But that's after the execution.
Yes, and so the Los Angeles Times chimed in on it, and as a final push, they persuaded Governor Wilder to intervene. Time magazine put Coleman on the cover to pressure Governor Wilder, and so Governor Wilder did not like being pushed back in this corner, but he did do a secret polygraph. He did allow Roger Coleman to do a secret polygraph, and offered that if he passed it, he might consider commuting the death sentence.
Oh.
And
Obviously, he did not pass it.
and he did this just to make sure that there was the public opinion was that he was trying to ensure that he was treated fairly, but Coleman failed, and then of course his defenders, the team, just said, well, who could pass a polygraph, you know,
Under those circumstances.
yeah, 15 hours before you
Right.
get ready to go on
Well,
to death
if
row.
you're going to pass it, you darn well better do it then. Get your act together and pass
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I mean, if you can't pass it, then when can you, you know?
I mean,
Trying to hold on to your last.
yeah, I think that I would try to get it together at that point in
Yeah.
time. So, May 20th, 1992.
Yeah, and see, that Time magazine came out on my birthday, May 18th. 2 days prior to his execution.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah, and because all this was, I mean, this polygraph was done the day of.
Yeah. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
they, you know, I mean, they postponed it for just to allow him to do that, and so he had his last meal. He had pepperoni pizza, which is what we had for
We
dinner
had that tonight. Oh gosh, that's kind of strange that we did
I
that.
know that I didn't even realize that.
know.
And because I had a choice between cheese and pepperoni, and I was like,
You
let's do
just
pepperoni.
automatically chose pepperoni.
I did, and so he had
From
fudge.
Food City, by the way.
I know Food City has
Good pizza.
very good, and it's the ones you buy in the deli, and then you bring them
Yes.
home and bake. The crust
Take
is
and bake.
yes, take and bake,
Technically, yeah.
and they're really good.
Well, and he had Sprite also, and I happen to have Diet Sprite in my, which is called Sprite Zero. And
Sprite
Zero.
Zero,
Now, but
Sprite Zero.
And then I had that he had fudge cookies, but you had that he had.
Well, I had fudge cookies, but
Oh.
I had that he had
Oh,
7
7
Up,
Up.
and you
See, I
you
had
had that he had
Sprite.
Sprite. So
That's a big
he had
difference.
lemon lime cola.
It's like the Coke Pepsi thing.
He probably had.
Like, can I have Coke? Will Pepsi be okay? Maybe he said, can I
No,
have
it's
Sprite?
not.
Will 7 Up be okay? No.
No, I wanted 7 Up
for
my last meal.
I know.
And so,
No one from Wanda's family went to his execution, by the way.
but Brad Coleman. I mean,
I'm not sure.
Brad
You're on the
McCoy.
Gary Coleman thing.
I
think.
am.
Brad McCoy went.
he went.
Which can you blame him? You know.
No, he did go, and so at 11:20, the U.S. Supreme Court delayed the execution for 30 minutes to deliberate, and so evidently they decided that they were going to go forward.
So much
And at 11:26 p.m., they strapped him into the electric chair. There were 6 guards and 1 chaplain there. At 11:29 p.m., 1,750 volts of electricity were administered.
Good timing on the dog.
Good timing.
Noise.
And he was proposed dead at 11:28.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 38 p.m. They described him as being calm and composed. And Coleman's last words were, "An innocent man is going to be murdered tonight. When my innocence is proven, I hope America will realize the injustice of the death penalty, as all other civilized nations have." And then Brad McCoy, saying of the death of Roger Coleman, he was there, and he said that Roger was his own executioner by the act of his own hands. He's not going to be able to hurt anyone anymore.
That's great. So I just wanted to show you guys this book. I don't know if a lot of people know about this. So this was written by one of my law school professors at William & Mary. Oh yeah, John Tucker. Here he is. He taught me trial advocacy. Okay, so one day, and this was after the execution, so I graduated in 1995. So one day, yeah, that's...
Oh, I thought you were going to talk to each other.
Oh, well.
I was gonna
One
say,
day he asked me out to lunch.
Martha, would you like to go out to lunch with
yes,
me?
oh, yes, sure, okay. So, you know, when you're invited by your professor to lunch, I don't really have, you know, I know. You think,
I
oh,
was
well,
like,
what's going on? I'm not sure.
Am I failing?
And his wife was another one of my professors, but I didn't know. So he had taken an interest in this case. I'm not really sure how that came about. But he wanted to talk about this book that he was writing. And so, can I get some quotes from you? And, tell me a little bit about what you know or whatever. So I thought, I didn't know what kind of book it was going to be. Well, it ends up, it's called May God Have Mercy, and which, by the way, is what Nick Pearson said to him when he sentenced him to death. May God have mercy on your soul. So that might be where this is coming from. But
I didn't know that.
yes, and this is a signed copy. I took off the cover because sometimes I take off my book covers. But it's very not very nice towards Grundy. This guy went and stayed weeks at a time at the Anchor Inn and interviewed everybody. The first page says, the town of Grundy doesn't fit the usual gracious public image of Virginia, which right away I didn't agree with that. And he has a lot of misspelled words, like he talks about Frank Spraker, but he calls him Straker. And then when he when he says Honaker, he spells it with a CH instead of a K. Just little stuff like that. But anyway, he throughout the book tried Honaker.
Like that name, that poor little place doesn't get its name butchered enough.
I know, Honaker.
I mean,
well, he tried to make he says that both sides of the prosecution and the defense were very incompetent, and
I hope he didn't get a speeding ticket when he was in.
Oh, I know. That would have been kind of cool, but he and in fact on page 318, he goes so far as to say that Roger Keith Coleman would have been a better attorney for himself than Tom Scott, which is the most ridiculous.
Or not Tom Scott, but his other.
Well, he mentioned Tom Scott, though, here in this. I don't know why he said it like that, but I don't know what I did with my glasses, but at least that's a quote I wrote down. But anyway, he was very just negative about the whole thing. I honestly can't read that because I don't have my glasses. But at any rate, you can read that while I'm going on. But
Okay. Oh yeah, I was just.
What he meant by that was he said Roger was better than Tom Scott when they were both questioned on one of the television interview shows, which is crazy. This book gives me a lot of things that I like to call eye roll emoji moments.
Yes.
I use the eye roll emoji a lot in my texts, and especially to my kids. It's like my favorite emoji. Which one is your favorite?
The smiling turd.
Oh,
Yeah,
that one's
that's
a good one too. It is a good one. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Another thing that's one of the cool things in this book, I think, not a cool thing of the book, but he puts in some of Mickey McLaughlin's cross-examination, and I think this is just brilliant of my uncle, if I do say so myself. But his question was to Coleman, you didn't think Wanda was pretty? Coleman says, no, I didn't. And then Mickey goes, was this before you killed her or after you killed her that you didn't think she was pretty? And then he goes, I didn't kill her. And of course, in the book, he's like, oh, you can't ask questions like that. That's really bad. But it's kind of like,
He slid that in.
Yes, I love that. He slid that in.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was good. So, and also, this book says that Roger found religion when he was in prison. Was really into reading the Bible, and as many of them do, say that they do that. What
I'm
other
telling you,
choice do they have?
If you're looking for Jesus,
Yeah.
I know where he's at.
Yeah.
He's at the regional jail. Because I'm telling you, everybody finds him there.
Yeah. Well,
So, well, good for him.
I
I'm
know.
glad. I hope so.
I don't know.
I hope he did.
Everybody says that, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's all you got to do. That's all
Yeah.
you got to do is ask for
Just-
forgiveness
And believe.
yeah. So, hopefully his sincerity was more so than his, the truth that he gave, that he just had all these people convinced, that whole team of people, whole team of highly educated people.
Yeah, right.
Convinced that he was innocent and that he was framed, and
And so we didn't say, but in 2006, they
they did, like I said, I mentioned earlier that they did test his DNA, and it did come back that it was a match, and so he had already been executed at this point in time.
14 years later.
So
Prior.
you know, that being said, McCroskey, the guy that was on his team, who had the ministries, the
Centurion.
Centurion Ministries, he said that, you know, he just so wanted to believe him, and but he did. He fooled a lot of people,
And some people still say they
no,
think
he
he's
did.
innocent.
Yeah, a lot of people still believe, you know, that that DNA evidence has been fabricated, and that he is innocent, and you know, there could have been a lot of ramifications if he had been executed.
Right.
And the DNA not
Unfairly,
matched.
right.
So, I mean, who's to say, other than the fact that, you know, this is just one of those Appalachian murders in the mountain,
Yes.
and
The perfect case for us to start off with.
it is, and like we were saying, it sparked our interest in true crime, and we've just been intrigued by it ever since, and
And we
you know,
thank you for watching.
we
We'll
really
have a fun
do.
case coming up next.
we do. We have a great case coming up next. You'll have to tune in Wednesday, and we'll let you know what we're going to be doing.
Yes.
So if you tune in Wednesday afternoon at what, 4?
Four-ish.
4-ish, we'll have a
Little commercial
little
break.
commercial break, and I'll let you know what we're going to be doing next. And again, thanks for
Thank you
all
for
your
watching.
support. You guys have been great. And let's see, we're done with Thanksgiving and
Coming up on Christmas.
coming
soon.
up on Christmas. So get those trays up.
Get those presents wrapped.
That's right. Get out and get some presents.
Make those peanut butter balls.
Oh, we are going to be making fudge. That's what my mom and I are going to be
Well, you
doing.
can bring me some.
I will. No peanut butter, right? Just
No,
chocolate.
we can't make peanut butter balls
Yeah.
anymore, but
Yeah. So yeah, get that fudge made.
see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.